The August sun hung heavy over a suburban Ohio town, its 90 degree heat shimmering off the asphalt of a bustling Target parking lot in 2025. The air was thick with the scent of melting tar, mingling with the buttery aroma of popcorn drifting from a fundraiser booth 50 feet away, where volunteers hawked snacks for a local youth soccer team. Shopping carts clattered across the pavement, their metal frames squeaking under the weight of groceries, while the faint pulse of a pop song, some chart topper from the summer, leaked from a car radio parked a few spaces down. It was the kind of Saturday afternoon that felt quintessentially American families ticking off errands, kids begging for ice cream, and the hum of small-town life carrying on under a cloudless sky. But in a quiet, shaded corner of the lot, almost invisible to the hurried shoppers, a drama was about to unfold, one that would transform an ordinary day into a moment no one present would ever forget. Tucked against a curb, far from the store's sliding doors, sat Tom, a man whose weathered face and tattered clothes marked him as one of the town's unseen. At 60, his life had unraveled like a worn thread, laid off from his auto mechanic job when the factory shuttered 3 years prior. He'd lost his modest ranch-style home to unpaid bills. Now, he lived in a tent pitched near a creek 2 miles outside town, his worldly possessions stuffed into a fraying backpack. Beside him lay a cardboard sign, its edges curling in the heat, with the words, "Help us survive," scrawled in black marker. Tom's gray eyes, though tired, held a flicker of resilience, a remnant of the man who'd once fixed neighbors' cars for free and volunteered at the county animal shelter. He hummed a faint tune, an old country song from his radio days, as his hand rested on the scruffy head of his only companion Buddy, a 20-pound beagle mix with a limp and a scarred ear. Buddy wasn't just a dog, he was Tom's lifeline. The beagle's matted fur and soulful brown eyes hid a story of loyalty that had begun 2 winters ago. On a night when the temperature had plummeted to 15 degrees, Tom, sick with fever and curled up in an alley, had been ready to surrender to the cold. Then Buddy appeared, a stray with no collar, who pressed his small, warm body against Tom's chest and stayed until dawn. That quiet act of companionship had pulled Tom through, and from that day, they were inseparable. In the Target lot, Buddy's tail gave a slow wag as Tom shared a crust from a day-old sandwich. Their bond, a silent defiance against a world that often looked away. Shoppers passed by, some tossing a glance, but most absorbed in their own routines, unaware that the fragile piece of that corner was about to be shattered. Across the lot, a beat-up sedan screeched into a parking space, its driver radiating a storm of frustration. Lisa, 42, was a part-time clerk at a nearby dollar store, her life a tightrope of overdue bills and sleepless nights. Foreclosure loomed over her small home, and the $10,000 debt left by her ex-husband felt like a weight she'd never shake. Her shift had been grueling rude customers, a broken register, and a boss who'd docked her pay for being 5 minutes late. As she stepped out, her sneakers scuffing the pavement, her eyes landed on Tom and Buddy. To Lisa, they were a symbol of everything broken in her world, a reminder of her own teetering existence. Her jaw tightened, and a bitter thought took root. Why should they get to sit there, begging, when I'm killing myself to survive? She slammed her car door, the sound cutting through the lot's hum, and started toward them, her steps heavy with purpose. Tom didn't notice Lisa at first, his attention on Buddy, who'd perked up at the scent of a dropped French fry nearby. But the air shifted, a subtle tension rippling through the lot as Lisa's shadow fell closer. Shoppers slowed, sensing something amiss, their carts pausing 20 feet away. Lisa's voice, sharp and laced with disdain, broke the quiet. "You and that mutt," she spat, "taking up space like you own the place." Tom's hand froze on Buddy's fur, his shoulders hunching as he mumbled, "We're not hurting anyone, ma'am." Buddy's ears twitched, a low growl rumbling in his throat as he sensed the threat. Lisa's lips curled into a cruel smirk, and she kicked a pebble at Buddy, who flinched but held his ground. Tom's plea, "Please, he's all I got," only fueled her anger, and she stooped to grab an empty coffee cup from the ground, her movements jerky with rage. Unseen, 30 feet away, a figure paused beside a pickup truck, his dark jeans and faded black tee blending into the crowd. Keanu Reeves, in town for a low-budget film shoot 70 miles from Cleveland, had stopped at Target for a quick run coffee, a protein bar, maybe a new notebook for script notes. The 60-year-old actor, known as much for his quiet kindness as his blockbuster roles, had just loaded his cart when Buddy's yelp caught his ear. His gaze sharpened, cutting through the lot's chaos to the corner where Lisa loomed over Tom and Buddy. Keanu's steps slowed, his hand tightening on the cart's handle. He recognized Tom from a brief chat at a diner the week before, where the older man had shared a story about fixing cars in better days. Now, watching Lisa raise the cup, her voice rising, Keanu felt a familiar resolve stir. Something cruel was unfolding, but fate had placed him here, at the right time, to change everything. The parking lot held its breath, the 92-degree heat pressing down as shoppers turned, phones slipping from pockets to capture the scene. Popcorn crunched underfoot near the fundraiser booth, and the pop song faded as a car door shut. Lisa's next move would ignite a confrontation, but Keanu's steady approach promised a reckoning, one that would echo beyond this Ohio town, a testament to the power of compassion in the face of cruelty. What began as another overlooked day for Tom and Buddy was about to become a moment of hope, driven by a man who believed no one, not even a limping dog, deserved to be kicked when they were down. In the shaded corner of the Target parking lot, where the 90-degree August heat softened into a faint breeze, Tom sat cross-legged on a worn blanket, his 60-year-old frame hunched but unyielding. A cardboard sign, its edges frayed, leaned against the curb, "Help us survive," scrawled in faded marker. Once an auto mechanic, Tom had kept cars humming at a factory 10 miles from this Ohio town until its closure in 2022 left him jobless. Evicted from his modest home, he now lived in a tent by a creek 2 miles away, his life whittled to a backpack and a heart that refused to break. Beside him, Buddy, a 20-pound beagle mix, rested his scarred muzzle on Tom's knee, his limp hind leg tucked beneath him. The dog's brown eyes flicked toward a shopper 30 feet away, but his tail gave a faint wag, tethered to Tom's quiet presence. Tom's calloused hand stroked Buddy's matted fur, sharing the last bite of a dollar store sandwich crust. Their bond was a lifeline, forged 2 winters ago when Tom, feverish and freezing at 15 degrees, had nearly given up in an alley. Buddy, astray with a torn ear from a past scrape, had curled against him, his warmth a silent vow. "You're not alone, now, in the lot." Tom hummed an old country tune from his radio days, his voice barely audible over the clatter of carts 50 feet off. A flashback gripped him. He pictured his old garage, the tang of motor oil, Sunday barbecues with neighbors grilling burgers, their laughter rising like smoke. He'd been the guy who fixed flat tires for free, who spent weekends at the animal shelter walking dogs like Buddy. His quiet generosity, a small-town legend. That life felt a world away. But Buddy's steady gaze anchored him. Shoppers passed, some tossing coins into a dented tin can, others averting their eyes. Tom didn't beg. He just sat, Buddy's head heavy on his knee, their silence louder than any plea. The beagle's limp, from a hit-and-run a year back, didn't dim his loyalty. He'd once dragged a blanket 100 feet to cover Tom during a rainstorm. As a cart squeaked by, Buddy's ears perked, catching the scent of popcorn from a fundraiser booth. Tom smiled faintly, whispering, "Not today, pal." But the moment's calm was fragile, a thread about to snap under the weight of a cruelty neither could foresee. Lurking just beyond the lot's edge, the Target parking lot buzzed under the 92nd degree of Ohio sun. But a sharp screech of tires cut through the hum as Lisa's beat-up sedan lurched into a space 30 feet from Tom's shaded corner. At 42, Lisa was a part-time clerk at a dollar store 2 miles down the road, her life unraveling under the weight of a foreclosure notice on her ranch-style home. Her ex-husband's departure had left her with $10,000 in debt, and her 10-hour shift marked by spilled coffee, a screaming customer, and a $20 pay cut for tardiness had frayed her nerves to breaking. As she stepped out, her sneakers scuffing the asphalt, her bloodshot eyes scanned the lot, landing on Tom and Buddy. To Lisa, their presence was a personal affront, a mirror of her own teetering existence. "Why's this town a dump now?" she muttered, slamming the car door with a force that echoed 50 feet away. Lisa's purse dangled from her shoulder, heavy with unpaid bills, as she strode toward Tom, her steps fueled by a bitter cocktail of exhaustion and rage. Tom, 60, sat with his cardboard sign, "Help Us Survive," while Buddy, his 20-pound beagle mix, rested his limping leg beside him. Lisa's gaze locked on the pair, her lips twisting. "You and that mutt," she snapped, her voice slicing through the lot's ambient clatter, "taking up space like you own it." She kicked a scatter of gravel, the pebbles skittering toward Buddy, who yelped and cowered, his scarred ear flattening. Tom's hand shot to Buddy's fur, his voice trembling. "Ma'am?" "He's no trouble, please," he pleaded, his gray eyes darting up but avoiding hers. Shoppers 20 feet away slowed, their carts pausing, sensing the air thicken. Lisa's anger flared hotter, unsoothed by Tom's words. "You're both trouble," she spat, her hands clenching. "People like you make this place a mess." She stooped, snatching an empty coffee cup from the pavement, its lid rattling as she gripped it. Her chest heaved, the $10,000 debt and looming eviction fueling her need to lash out. Buddy's low growl, barely audible, only stoked her ire. "What? Your dog's gonna scare me," she sneered, raising the cup as if to throw it. Tom pulled Buddy closer, his voice breaking. "He's all I got." The lot's hum faded, popcorn scents from a fundraiser booth, lost to the tension, unseen. A figure 30 feet away, Keanu Reeves paused, his cart still, as Lisa's cruelty teetered on the edge of action, setting the stage for a reckoning. The Target parking lot pulsed with the 92-degree August heat, but a sharp yelp from Buddy, Tom's 20-pound beagle mix, sliced through the clatter of shopping carts 50 feet away. Lisa, 42, loomed over Tom's shaded corner, her fist clutching an empty coffee cup, her voice venomous. "You're both trouble, Tom," 60 cradled Buddy, his plea. "He's all I got," lost in the tension, 30 feet off, near a pickup truck stacked with grocery bags. Keanu Reeves. 60 paused, his hand gripping the handle of a cart loaded with coffee and protein bars. In Ohio, for a low-budget film shoot 70 miles from Cleveland, he'd wrapped a 12-hour day on set and stopped at Target for a quick run. His faded black tee and jeans blended into the crowd, but his dark eyes locked onto the commotion, a flicker of recognition sparking. Keanu knew Tom from a brief chat at a diner a week earlier, where the former mechanic had shared a story about fixing cars over a $2 coffee. Now, seeing Tom's hunched frame and Buddy's trembling form under Lisa's shadow, Keanu's jaw tightened. Known for his quiet kindness, stories of him helping strangers often swirled online. He felt the pull of injustice. Abandoning his cart, he strode forward, his steps deliberate across the asphalt, the scent of popcorn from a fundraiser booth fading behind him. The crowd, sensing a shift, Slowed 20 feet away, phones slipping out to record. Lisa, poised to hurl the cup, froze as Keanu's voice cut through. Calm but unyielding. Hey, that's enough. Let them be. Lisa spun, her bloodshot eyes widening at the familiar face. A nervous laugh escaped her. What? A movie star playing hero, she scoffed, her voice betraying a crack of unease. The foreclosure notice on her ranch-style home and $10,000 debt fueled her defiance. But Keanu's steady gaze unnerved her. He stepped closer, now 10 feet away. His hands relaxed but his presence commanding. Not a hero, he replied, his tone sharp yet even, reflecting the directness of a small-town American standing ground. Just someone who knows right from wrong. Tom lifted his eyes, clutching Buddy, whose limp hind leg twitched. The beagle's low growl softened, as if sensing a protector. Lisa's grip on the cup tightened, her sneer faltering. "You don't get it," she snapped. "People like them ruin this place." Keanu tilted his head, unfazed. "They're not the problem," he said, his voice low, cutting through the lot's hum. Shoppers whispered, their phones capturing the standoff. The 90 degree of air seemed to thicken. The moment teetering as Keanu stood firm, his prior diner chat with Tom fueling his resolve. Lisa's next move would tip the scales, but Keanu's arrival had already shifted the lot's pulse, promising a confrontation rooted in compassion over cruelty. The Target parking lot crackled with tension under the 90 degree Ohio sun, the air thick as Lisa's voice rose, her coffee cup raised like a weapon 10 feet from Tom and Buddy. "You don't know me," she shouted at Keanu Reeves, her bloodshot eyes blazing. "I'm drowning in $10,000 of debt, and these bums make it worse." The 42-year-old clerk's ranch-style home faced foreclosure, her dollar store shift still stinging with insults. Tom, 60, clutched Buddy, his 20-pound beagle mix, whispering, "It's okay, pal." As the dog's limping leg trembled, Keanu, 60, stood firm, his faded black tee damp with sweat from his 12-hour film shoot, 70 miles from Cleveland. His diner chat with Tom a week ago fueled his resolve. Stepping closer. "Now 5 feet away," he said, his voice steady. "Your fight's not with them. Hurting a dog won't fix your pain." Lisa's arm froze midair, her sneer twisting into a flicker of recognition. Years ago, at a charity 5K run 50 miles away, Keanu had signed her son's poster. His kind words, "Keep shining," kid etched in her memory. Shame flashed in her eyes, her hand wavering as the crowd 20 feet off murmured, "Phone's recording." But pride surged, and she doubled down, hurling the cup at Buddy. It grazed his scarred ear, clattering on the asphalt. Tom gasped, pulling Buddy tight, his sign, "Help us," survive tipping over. Then, defying his injury, Buddy lunged forward, his 20-pound frame quivering with courage. A hoarse, piercing bark erupted, echoing across the lot. His brown eyes locked on Lisa. The beagle stood between her and Tom, tail stiff, a limping guardian undaunted by her rage. The crowd gasped, a teenager's phone capturing Buddy's defiance. Lisa stumbled back, the cup's clatter and Buddy's bark shattering her bravado. Keanu's gaze didn't waver. "That dog's got more heart than you're showing," he said, his tone sharp but calm, rooted in the American directness he'd learned on countless sets. Lisa's chest heaved, her foreclosure fears, and Keanu's past kindness clashing within. "You think you're better than me," she spat, but her voice cracked. The weight of eyes shoppers, carts paused 30 feet away pressing in. The popcorn scent from a fundraiser booth faded, the lot's hum swallowed by the standoff. Tom's hands shook, stroking Buddy, whose bark had shifted the air, a small act of bravery sparking hope. Keanu took another step, now 3 feet from Lisa, his presence a quiet force. "You're not this person," he said, echoing their charity encounter. Lisa's fingers twitched, the crowd's whispers growing, phones flashing. Buddy's trembling stance held firm, his bark a challenge to her cruelty. The 90-sec degree fear of heat bore down. But the moment teetered on a knife's edge. Lisa's next move would either deepen the conflict or crack her resolve, with Keanu and Buddy standing as beacons of compassion in a lot poised for change. The Target parking lot, sweltering at 92 200, hummed with tension as Lisa's coffee cup lay discarded, her rage faltering under Keanu Reeves's steady gaze. 10 feet away, Tom clutched Buddy, the 20-pound beagle mix, whose defiant bark still echoed. His limping leg braced against the asphalt. Lisa, 42, her $10,000 debt and foreclosure fears exposed, snapped. "You're not better than me," but the crowd, now swelling 20 feet around, shifted the air. Phones glinted in the Ohio sun, capturing the standoff. Maya, a 17-year-old barista from a nearby coffee shop, live-streamed on TikTok, her caption flashing, "This ain't okay." Her lens framed Lisa's trembling hand, Keanu's calm resolve, and Buddy's trembling courage, the video already hitting 1,000 views. Shoppers paused, carts stilled 30 feet off, drawn by the drama. Greg, a 40-year-old dad with a toddler in tow, fumbled for his phone, dialing Target security. "Someone's got to stop this," he muttered, his voice tight, picturing his own lab at home. His call connected as Clara, a 70-year-old retired nurse, stepped forward, her cane tapping the pavement. "Leave that dog alone," she shouted, her voice cutting through the popcorn scent from a fundraiser booth 50 feet away. Clara's glare, honed from decades in ERs, pinned Lisa, whose eyes darted to the growing audience. The crowd's murmurs, some supportive of Keanu, others whispering about Lisa's cruelty, piled pressure, her resolve cracking like thin ice. Lisa's chest heaved, the memory of Keanu signing her son's poster at a charity event years ago clashing with her anger. Phones flashed, Maya's live stream spiking to 5,000 views, amplifying the moment across Ohio and beyond. Then, a new figure emerged: Ray, a stern security guard, his faded uniform crisp despite the heat. Striding from the store 100 feet away, he assessed the scene, his deep voice booming, "Drop it." Now. Though Lisa held no cup, his command targeted her aggression, his 6-foot frame looming. The crowd parted, carts rattling, as Ray crossed his arms, unyielding. Keanu, 60, seized the moment, stepping to 3 feet from Lisa. "You can walk away, Lisa," he said, his tone calm but firm, echoing their diner chat's kindness. "You're not this person." Lisa's gaze flicked from Ray's stern eyes to Maya's phone, Greg's frown, and Clara's scowl, the weight of judgment suffocating. Tom stroked Buddy, whose brown eyes stayed locked on Lisa, a silent guardian. The 90-degree of air pressed down, but the community's pulse, live streams, calls, shouts surged, reflecting the American instinct to rally against injustice. Keanu's words, Ray's authority, and the crowd's unity tightened the noose on Lisa's defiance. Her fingers twitched, the lot's hum fading. As the moment teetered, her next choice would either deepen the conflict or yield to the collective stand for compassion, with Buddy's bark and Keanu's resolve lighting the way. The Target parking lot, baking at 92 degrees, held its breath as Lisa's hand shook, the empty coffee cup slipping from her fingers to clatter on the asphalt 10 feet from Tom and Buddy. "I'm just tired of losing," she muttered, her voice cracking, the $10,000 debt and foreclosure on her ranch-style home heavy in her chest. The 42-year-old clerk's eyes, once sharp with rage, dulled as she glanced at Tom, 60, clutching his 20-pound beagle mix, Buddy, whose limping leg and scarred ear bore witness to their shared struggle. Lisa's gaze lingered, torn between shame and defiance. Her memory of Keanu Reeves signing her son's poster at a charity event years ago, stinging anew. Stumbling toward her sedan 30 feet away, she paused, her expression fractured, then slid inside and drove off, tires squealing faintly. Keanu, 60, knelt beside Tom, his jeans scuffing the pavement, his calm presence a balm after his 12-hour film shoot 70 miles from Cleveland. "You okay, buddy?" he asked, his voice soft, echoing their diner chat over $2 coffee a week prior. Tom nodded, tears tracing his weathered cheeks, his hands buried in Buddy's fur. "Thank you," he whispered, clutching the dog who'd saved him from a 15-degree hour night 2 winters ago. Keanu pulled a card from his wallet, a local shelter's contact. 5 miles away. "They'll check Buddy's leg. Help you both," he said, his tone practical, yet warm. Tom gripped the card like a lifeline. His sign, "Help us survive," still tipped over nearby. The crowd, 20 feet off, erupted in soft applause. Phones still raised. Maya, the 17-year-old barista, watched her TikTok livestream hit 15,000 views. Her caption, "This ain't okay now," a rallying cry online. Shoppers, paused near carts 50 feet away, nodded approval. The popcorn scent from a fundraiser booth, mingling with the moment's weight. Clara, the elderly nurse, wiped her eyes, while Greg, the dad, hugged his toddler tighter, relieved by the resolution. Ray, the security guard, stood watch, his stern nod acknowledging Keanu's stand. The 92-degree sphere of heat pressed down, but the lot's pulse lightened. The community's unity sparked by Maya's video, Greg's call, and Clara's shout, reflecting America's instinct to champion the vulnerable. Tom stroked Buddy, whose brown eyes softened, his bark now a memory that had tipped the scales. Keanu rose, brushing dust from his faded black tee, and gave Tom a nod before stepping back, his quiet kindness needing no spotlight. The applause faded, but Maya's livestream surged, comments flooding Keanu's "the real deal." The moment, born of Buddy's courage and Keanu's compassion, rippled beyond the Ohio lot, a testament to small acts defeating cruelty. Lisa's taillights vanished, her muttered words hinting at remorse, leaving the crowd to witness a fragile hope take root in Tom's tearful gaze. The dust of the confrontation settled in the Target parking lot, but its ripples spread far beyond the 90-degree of Ohio afternoon. By the next morning, Maya's TikTok livestream, captioned, "This ain't okay," had exploded to 50,000 views, igniting a spark that lit up the small town. The 17-year-old barista's video, capturing Buddy's defiant bark, Keanu Reeves' calm stand, and Lisa's faltering rage spurred strangers to act. A GoFundMe page, launched by a local teacher, raised $4,500 in 24 hours for the animal shelter 5 miles away, where Tom and Buddy had found refuge. Shoppers who'd witnessed the scene donated $5, $10, even $100, their comments echoing a shared belief: no one, not even a limping dog, should face cruelty alone. Target's store manager, moved by the viral story, offered Tom a part-time janitor job, $15 an hour, enough to trade his tent by the creek for a rented room 2 miles from the store. Tom, 60, accepted with a quiet nod, his gray eyes brighter than they'd been in years. Buddy, the 20-pound beagle mix, got his vet checkup at the shelter, his scarred ear perked as a vet confirmed his limp caused by a hit-and-run. A year prior was treatable with therapy. The $4,500 covered his care and more, ensuring other strays found homes. Tom, who'd once volunteered at the shelter in better days, felt a flicker of his old self, the mechanic who fixed cars for free and grilled burgers at Sunday barbecues. Meanwhile, Lisa, the 42-year-old clerk whose $10,000 debt and foreclosure fears had fueled her outburst, slipped into the shelter that evening, her face hidden under a ball cap. She left a crumpled $50 bill in the donation box, her name absent, but her intent clear, a small step toward redemption. A whisper of the woman who'd once cheered at a charity 5K, where Keanu signed her son's poster. She drove away, her sedan's taillights fading, her heart wrestling with shame and possibility. Days later, the parking lot hummed with evening shoppers. The 80-degree were air cooling as the sun dipped low. Tom sat outside Target, his new janitor's uniform folded in his bag, sharing a hot dog with Buddy under a sycamore tree 50 feet from the store's entrance. He tore off a piece, chuckling as Buddy's tail wagged, his brown eyes gleaming. "We're gonna be okay," Tom whispered, scratching Buddy's ears, the dog's warmth a reminder of the 15-degree night they'd survived together. Clara, the 70-year-old nurse, waved from her car, her cane resting on the passenger seat, her smile a quiet salute to their resilience. The lot's rhythm carts rattling, popcorn scents lingering from a fundraiser booth felt softer, the town warmer, as if compassion had woven a new thread through its heart. This moment, born of Keanu's stand, Buddy's courage, and a community's rally, carried lessons that linger. First, kindness. Even in small acts like a $50 donation or a shared hot dog can heal wounds deeper than debt or despair. Keanu, 60, didn't need a spotlight. His choice to step up, rooted in a $2 coffee chat with Tom, showed that one voice can shift a tide. Second, courage isn't always loud. Buddy's bark from a 20-pound frame proved that even the smallest can stand tall, a lesson for anyone facing their own hit-and-run moments. Third, community binds us. Maya's livestream, Greg's call to security, Clara's shout these weren't just actions, but proof that Americans, from baristas to retirees, rally for what's right, reflecting values of hope and second chances. Finally, redemption is possible. Lisa's $50 left in silence wasn't absolution but a start, a nod to the belief that no one is beyond change. These lessons resonate because they're universal, yet fiercely American, rooted in the grit of Ohio's small towns, the pulse of GoFundMe campaigns, and the faith that a Target lot can become a stage for transformation. Keanu, Tom, Buddy, and even Lisa remind us that pain can spark cruelty, but also compassion. And every choice matters. To you, our audience. Thank you for joining this journey, for caring about a limping dog and a man down on his luck. Your support fuels stories like this, showing that hope thrives when we share it. Please subscribe to catch more tales of resilience. Hit that button, and let's keep the conversation alive. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And let's celebrate the kindness that unites us. The closing image lingers Tom and Buddy under the sycamore, the 80-degree breeze stirring their shared quiet. A cart rattles 30 feet away. A kid laughs near the fundraiser booth, and the lot glows under dusk's golden light. Tom's hand rests on Buddy, his whisper, "We're gonna be okay," a vow not just to his dog but to himself, to the town, to the strangers who gave $400 or $500 in a job. Lisa's $50 sits in the shelter's box, a seed of change. Keanu, back on his film set, 70 miles away, carries no fanfare, just the steady pulse of doing right. This Ohio lot, once a battleground, now hums with proof compassion from a star, a dog, or a community can shift lives, leaving a town, and maybe all of us, a little warmer, a little braver, a little more whole.